Hi everybody, it's Joni here. Welcome back for another painting tutorial in acrylics. Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint 4 different types of clouds. So this is going to be really beginner friendly and we're going to make this really simple. I'm going to show you every step of the way so you can all follow along and learn how to paint different types of clouds. So I have 16 by 20 double primed and stretched canvas and I painted it gray and I used Mars Black. Actually, this is Lamp Black, but you can use Mars Black. I usually use Mars Black, but I have Lamp Black with me today that I've used, and Titanium White. So those are the 2 colors that I used to create a gray backdrop for this tutorial. And I'm going to be breaking the demonstrations down into 4 areas. So I'll be doing number 1 here, 2, 3, and 4. And I have one brush I'm going to be showing you how to paint all of these clouds with, and this is a number 4 Filbert brush. So only one brush today and a few colors. So the color I'm going to be using is Phthalo Blue. I'm going to be applying a little bit of Phthalo Blue to each section at the top. And then we're going to come in and add our clouds. So I'm really excited to show you guys how to paint these clouds. This is going to take you so far in your painting journey, and you can use these clouds, incorporate them into your landscapes. So have fun with this and don't be hard on yourselves. Just take your time and practice as much as you can. And that being said, let's jump in and get started. So I'm just going to apply my blue here. Now this is just the shade of blue I'm using. It's one of my most favorite shades of blue. I love a phthalo blue, but you can use any blue you like. You can even just use a gray background. That can be a nice color for a stormy scene. And I'm going to apply my white here. And then just a little bit of black. So the very first cloud I'm going to be demonstrating is called a cirrus cloud. And I'll have it written down here, typed out in the caption so you can see. And these clouds I think are my most favorite types of clouds because they have just this really soft, swept, dreamy feeling that adds a lot of mood to a painting. And we're going to be using the white with a little bit of water just to kind of soften and thin out and make it look really nice and dreamy. So a little bit of water is the only thing I'm going to be using with my acrylics today. There's no other slow drying medium or thinning medium. It's just straight paint and water. I have very thick, heavy bodied acrylics that I'm using. So depending on the type of paint you're using, you may need a little less water. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started by wetting my brush a little bit. So I just want to make sure that the bristles are nice and damp. That will help the paint carry through out of the brush over the canvas. And you don't want to have any drips, otherwise that's too much water. And I'm just going to start by taking a little bit of this gorgeous blue and I'm going to apply it right up here. Now I know I need a little bit more water. So I'm just going to pull that out. Want it to be a little bit darker on the top. And then what I'm actually going to do is take a little bit of white now without rinsing my brush out. And I'm just going to start applying that down here. So we're going to make a lighter shade of blue. And now we're just going to work that up. Work it all the way up, back and forth, up to the top. I'm just going to sort of square up these edges here. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more water and a little bit more white and a little bit more blue. And I've got lots of room here because I'm splitting this up into 4 so I can easily bring down some more area here. Okay, I'll take a little bit more water. Pull that through, blend it, I just want a really nice gradation of blues. So darkest at the top and then making it lighter and lighter. And then I'll just soften the edges here. Square it up just a little bit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to clean my brush out and I'm going to come in with straight white. Now you can do this on wet paint or dry paint. So mine is probably still a little bit wet, and when that happens, you end up getting more of a blending and even more gradation of and shades of blues going on, or whatever color you happen to be using with your white. So what we want to do is start coming in with little scoops like this. So I just kind of make these little C shapes, small, and then stretch it out. So small, small, small. They kind of look like little waves. And then sweeping. And it just ends up looking really, really soft. So I'm going to just take a little bit more paint now. So just concentrating on making thicker little areas here, and then a really nice soft long sweep to those clouds. Now having a little bit of water in your brush can help just soften it even more. I'm going to go in and get some more white now, and I'm going to make some of the white stand out a little bit more, and then a little sweep. So curl, 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 sweep. And then very little pressure. Okay, let's bring some down here a little bit lower. So small, small, and then stretch them out. Okay, so I think you guys get the idea of just creating soft, swept looking clouds, longer brush strokes. And then brighter white. Where you want the clouds to start from. Okay, so another example, add a little bit more white there, and then Lightly pull and sweep. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. And this one is called stratus cloud. I'm going to start with the same technique. We're going to come in with our blue. And then pull in some white. Start to blend that into the blue. And then it's darker and darker and darker up at the top and gets lighter and lighter down below as we get down to the horizon. I'll just make this a little bit wider so that I can demonstrate a little bit more. Got a nice big size canvas here, so it gives me lots of room to demonstrate for you guys. I really love painting clouds and painting skies, and I love showing you guys all the different ways to paint them. A lot of people are really intimidated by painting clouds. And so I love to break it down and show you guys these little tips and tricks. So stratus clouds are those ones that you see when the sky has like just so many little clouds. There's just tons and tons and tons of them and just little spaces in between of the blue sky showing. So that's what we're going to focus on right now. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to actually dry this off because it's quite wet and I want to just be able to come in over top of dry paint with white and go from there. Okay, so now that this is dry, let's come in and start adding a little bit of light blue. So I've just got this area here with a little bit of white and a tiny bit of blue. You just want to have the paint on the end of the brush, and what we're going to do is just start coming in with little bubbly clouds like this, and we're going to put them really close together, just a little circle, little circles close together. So you're painting all these mini clouds. And then they're going to get a little bit smaller and tighter together. You don't have to think about spending too long on any one of these. And they don't all necessarily have to have the same amount of white. You can have some that are a little more faded and sort of see-through. And then they just get a little closer and closer together. So then you can even just use like half of the brush for half of the width. And then the full width of the brush to start making them bigger and bigger. I'm just coming in with a little bit more white, just to show you how it would look if you had some brighter white clouds. Okay, and then tighter and closer together, smaller ones. Now I'm painting them kind of diagonal like this, but you can add them in any direction you want, but just follow the direction. So if you wanted to have them kind of going horizontally, then just paint them the same. Just horizontally. You can even kind of add a little curl or swirl to the direction and make it look a little bit more whimsical. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few up here with some more white. And notice how I'm not over blending, I'm not overworking anything. I'm just kind of pushing, tapping, dabbing, and then moving on to the next cloud. So I'm just going to come down here and add little bits closer and closer together, pretty much like just little dots like this. Again, just a little bit of white on the end of my brush. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out, and the next example I'm going to show you are cumulus clouds. So these are when you have more like bigger clouds and they're a little puffy. And then once I show you this one, we're going to move on to another kind of version of those, but with a lot more peaks and neat layers, and they kind of look ruffly, but that would be the fourth and final one. But we're going to continue on now with the third one, and it's cumulus. So we're going to start with the dark blue. And this is when we're going to start to come in with a little bit of the black and incorporate some gray. But I'm going to start off with blue, and we're going to come right in here, back and forth, side to side, making a nice dark, deep blue top to the sky. So it's darker at the top, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. So then we'll come in with some white. Pick up some more white again. And my white's mixing in with my blue, but that's fine because we don't want it to be straight white. We want it to be gradiating to lighter shades of blue. Okay, again, I'm going to take a moment to dry this off with my hair dryer, and then we can come in with our white and then soften with a touch of gray. All right, so now that it's all dry, let's start coming in with our white. Again, my brush is a little bit damp, and I'm not overloading it. I've just got a little bit on more of the end of my brush, and we're going to start by coming in with a little line here, and we'll add another little line here, and then we're going to come up top and add little circles up and down. I'm going to take a little bit more white, brighten the top up. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. And then I'll add a few other little ones here. And just keep going. Now you can start with a puffy top and then come down and kind of just soften the bottom. And I'll make smaller ones. This helps with the perspective, so where the horizon line is, making them smaller and smaller. and smaller. Okay, so we've got a nice bright peak to our clouds. And at this point, you could just leave a little bit of the blue showing for your shadow on your clouds, but I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of black or any shade of gray you want. If you already have a shade of gray that's mixed, use that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of black and a little bit of white. I'm going to make it a lot lighter by mixing some more white in there. So I want more of a neutral gray and then not a lot of paint on my brush. So you can apply this wet on wet. My clouds are wet underneath, or you can apply it to dry clouds. But I'm going to start right here at the bottom. And then soften, soften. Very little pressure. Add a little bit under all the clouds. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush out. And with a clean brush, I'm just going to lightly blend the white, got a little drip there, the white into the gray. Just to give it another soft little bit of blending. And then I'll just take it one step further and add a little bit more white now on the top. I don't want to make these ones any bigger. I just want to add a few more little highlights here. Now you can make softer shades of gray, like you can come over and add a little bit more to just kind of soften it and break up any solid gray areas. Or you could, if you wanted to look a little bit more stormy, you could come in with a little bit more deep gray like this and just come from underneath and add just a little bit more. Okay, so it looks a little more 3D now. It's all about the highlights and shadows. Okay, so that takes us to number 4, and we're going to be painting those cumulonimbus. And these ones are really fun to paint. And I'm going to just go ahead and start with clean brush, a little bit of water, and blue. Again, back and forth, side to side. So it's going to be a little bit darker towards the bottom. We're not going to have as much of the white. So I'm going to take my white and I'm going to come down here, work that up into the blue, and then add a little bit more of the blue. So it's just going to get a little bit lighter, but not as light as the other examples. And it'll also dry a little darker than this because acrylic just does that. I'm gonna go in, take a little bit of black in with my blue, and I'm gonna apply this on the very top to make this even more dramatic and just create a little bit more depth. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is dry this off, and then we're gonna start coming in with the very first step. Okay, so we're gonna start with a little bit of white. Okay, a little bit of white, not a ton of paint. And what we wanna do is start up a little higher here, and we're just gonna use the end of the brush to make some nice round circles like this and make it look bubbly. Okay, then I'm gonna rinse my brush out, dry it off. It's damp, but it's not dripping. What I'm gonna do is come right where I left off with the white, and I'm gonna soften and start to blend some of that white out there into the blue below. Now I need a little bit more paint. We're just gonna blend that out a little bit. This is gonna give us a really nice, soft, glowing peak to the layers of the clouds. Okay, so now I'm gonna come in and add a little bit more white on the top. Now that we've got the shape that we want and our soft shading, we can make that nice and bright. Now we're going to come in with the next layer. So we'll take that white again, and we're going to leave a little bit of a space, and we're going to come in and start a little lower and do the same thing. So I'm going to be a little bit more generous with my white than I was the very first time. Okay, just gonna lift off a little bit of where I left off, and we're just gonna soften down below. You don't want to take it off of the top, like the outline. You don't want to go over that and move that paint off. You want to leave that there and just create a really thin, powdery, transparent layer like this. So see all the depth we're creating just by doing this? So it really helps by starting on a darker background. Okay, so I'm going to come in and start adding a little bit more highlights here. And then we're going to work on another layer. So I'm going to come up a little bit closer. Now you can make these as close together as you want and layer over. But I recommend just doing one at a time rather than coming in and doing a whole bunch and then trying to soften after, because you don't leave yourself enough room when you do that, and you can get a little bit lost in all of the ripples and lines. Okay, I'll wipe off the excess, and then I'm just going to come in again underneath here. I've got just the right amount of moisture in my brush and the right amount of paint. And this is something I can't really give you an exact amount of how much I have in my brush. It's something you just kind of have to get a feel for and practice. Okay, so I'm going to come in again and start layering some more. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. I've got quite a bit building up in my brush. I don't want my brush to end up, or the paint end up drying in my bristles. So every once in a while I will rinse my brush out and start over again with some fresh paint. But I'm going to do the same thing here now, just softening, using a little bit of that paint there. And see how I kind of went off course here? I didn't keep following that same pattern. You can if you want. But I'm going to show you how you can change it up and just kind of layer those clouds to go in different directions. And then maybe we'll add a little one that comes down here. I'll wipe the excess off. Start to soften a little bit. And come in here. Wipe the excess off, go back and soften. And we'll just keep going. Okay, I'll wipe the excess off again. I say it every time so that you really remember the steps. So straight paint for the outline and then soften underneath. I'm going to come back and make some of these a little bit brighter and bring these lines down a little bit more so you can add a little bit more detail and depth and shape to your clouds if you want by doing that. These little half circles like so. Okay, wipe the excess paint off and soften. Just going to take a last little bit of white here and go over the top. Soften a little bit more. And there you have it. So I've shown you 4 different ways and 4 different types of clouds to paint. Broken it down for you guys. As you can see, it is so easy. I know you all can do this, so have fun experimenting and enjoy the process. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe and also check out my Patreon for a ton of exclusive tutorials just waiting for you to unlock. I love to teach and I can't wait to show you everything that I've learned over the past 20 years. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.